was. He was still him.
I feel like once he went down to bantamweight, he was not. What's going on, y'all? We are on episode 13, Road to Gold podcast. I'm here with my man, Ron. How you feeling today, Ron?
Feeling good today. We're back. Speaking of a sneaky card, this is a nice little sneaky card we got. I've been excited about this one for a while, actually. Doing my research, I saw a lot of good chunk that was to be talked about.
We got a good UFC event, UFC Fight Night, St. Louis. There's a lot of talk, after all the 300, some of the cards were starting to get a little iffy. Not a lot of hype behind them, but we finally got a card. Like I said, it's a fight night in St. Louis, so we got big Derrick Lewis on the card, new Mansa, Joaquin Buckley. We got some good things on the way, but before we even get to that card, a few things I want to talk about. UFC 301 last week. In Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, we had a good pay-per-view, had a lot of exciting fights going on. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's get into that. First fight I want to talk about, Caio Borralho KO'd Paul Craig. He got him out of there.
He did.
He got him out of there. That's what I expected. Was that what you expected? I expected that.
A KO, maybe some round and pound to a TKO situation felt like that was, very possible to happen. I really thought Paul Craig could have showed me some of that veteran ability. It didn't go that way at all. Unfortunately, it's maybe time for him to hang them back up, actually. Because you can't, man. He came back out of retirement to I don't know what he's doing right now. I don't know what his purpose is, to be honest. I don't know what he's out to get right now, especially coming back out of retirement. And since he's been back out of retirement, I mean, you can tell that he looks like he can still fight, but we're not making any runs right now, Paul. What are we doing here?
Well, it's hard when you're a jiu-jitsu fight. Like, back in UFC 1, UFC 2 Hoist Gracie era, you could get away with being just a strictly jiu-jitsu fighter. Even guys like Damian Maia, who didn't necessarily have great stand-up, that were mainly jiu-jitsu guys. Even guys like him could succeed and, get their way. But in 2024, you have to be well-rounded, or you have to be so dominant in your one area that you can't be denied. Paul Craig, unfortunately, is not that right now. But Borralho, bro, I told you last week, he is handsome Paulo Costa.
Handsome Paulo
like
Costa.
Like how they talked about handsome Squidward on SpongeBob. He is handsome Paulo Costa. He is slimmer. He's quick. He's exciting. He has charisma. He just brings a lot to the middleweight division. And I think the sky can be the limit for him. Now, the middleweight division is kind of packed somewhat. I mean, he's at 12 now. He's at 12.
It's a hard climb.
You match, shoot. The next guy we're going to talk about, Michel Pereira, that's an exciting fight.
It is. It's a hard climb, honestly. Like, the middleweight division's honestly ridiculous right now. New guys coming up, old guys still competing. Even like you said, Pereira, he maybe he's a little more serious than I give him credit for. Maybe he's a little more serious than I give him credit for. He likes to have a good time, but as long as you're winning fights, at the end of the day, who am I to say you're not serious if you're winning fights? So hey,
we might as well jump right into it. Michel Pereira, he submitted Ihor Potieria. Submitted him. He actually had a little bit of a controversial finish because he did a backflip.
Yeah.
He knocked him down and he did a backflip onto him, which he ended up kneeing him.
In the
Now
head.
it was debatable where the knee landed. Was it in the shoulder? Was it in the neck? Was it in the face? It was very debatable. But he pounced on him, choked him out, got the submission. The referees and the judges, they kind of conferred for a little bit. But I mean, bro, they're not gonna take away his win in Brazil. Like
That's the part. That's the part. If that would have happened, maybe anywhere else, they may have like, look, man, that obviously hit him and affected the rest of the fight. But in Brazil, he's the home guy. They did the right. They didn't get trash thrown at them. That was their main goal there. So they probably did the right thing for their own safety.
for sure. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, it serves the narrative better because Michel moves up in the rankings. Like I said, Barallo is at 13. I think that's a no-brainer fight, to be quite honest with you. Two exciting guys who love to stand and love to trade and get creative with their strikes. Like
Right.
Michel, he is one of the most creative kickboxers that we've seen, really. I mean,
For sure.
doing off the cage, cartwheel, backflips. Now, again, as he gets up in competition,
he's gonna have to slow that down for sure.
he has to slow his roll. He has to. But does he? I mean, we got guys like Michael Venom Page, right?
Michael Venom Page is stamped though, like don't get me wrong. Michelle is tough. Don't get me wrong, but Michael Venom Page is a different kind of. He's been fighting like this. His like hands completely down, the fancy footwork, spinning elbows, spinning kicks. That's been who he is his entire career. Michelle, I'm sure, is the same, but I don't think he's of the same skill level of an MVP. So personally, I think as he gets more as he keeps climbing those ranks, some of the wrestlers, some of the other strikers in the division, they're not going to let you get that off on them. They're just not going to let it happen. They're just not. I just don't see how they will allow it to happen. And if he does get it off, hey, you proved me wrong. You're better than I thought you were. Maybe we're all just underrating him. Possibly, maybe he's just so great of a crazy guy.
No, I think at this point he's getting his due. And I don't think it's crazy for us to think that he might have to chill out because, for example, against Ihor, he knocked him down. Came out the fight, looked great,
Right.
looked great. He was focused, lasered in, but he knocked him down, and then he did the backflip against guys, against Hamzat, against Cannonier,
Right.
Robert Whitaker. You can't give them an inch because you give Robert Whitaker, maybe he tries to do a backflip, he misses. Robert recovers, and now it's like, hey, we're gonna fight. And I know this is we're going very far into the future. Robert Whitaker is at the top of the division. Michel is only at 13, but I mean, shoot,
Right.
His trajectory, the way he's looking, I don't see a reason why he can't go into the top 10, into the top 5, right?
And he's exciting. Dana loves exciting fighters that finish fights.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's only a fight or two away from starting to really see that real top 5 kind of competition. And once that happens, what is he? I mean, like, hey, if he gets a flashy knockout on a name, someone worthwhile, like tuning into a pay-per-view, hey, it could go crazy at that point for him.
Hey, Barallo versus Pereira. Well, who just hypothetically throw something out there. Who would you side with? I know who I'm siding with. Who are you siding with?
I'm going Brazilian dog. You know I am.
Well,
the Brazilians are tough, man.
They're both Brazilian.
But like, okay, you're right. But like Michel is like, that's like that. Like, that's the
Barallo getting him out of there, bro.
I don't know, man. I don't know, bro.
Paulo, man, he's. Nah.
I've always said if he gets serious, he could do something. He's unserious in doing something. So
he's serious. He's serious. He I will say before he did all his backflip, whatever, he wasn't doing any of that. Like he wasn't doing any of that. I think old habits die hard. I think once he saw him hurt on the ground, he was so confident. He's like, this guy is nothing for me. I'm gonna just do this. But nah, I mean, bro, Barallo.
It's that though. It's the overconfidence. I think that when the overconfidence is there and he gets to, open hand slapping, a fake running off the cage kick. You know, like you're gonna face someone who's gonna capitalize off of you trying to wild out in front of them. Like imagine a basketball game. You know, someone gets to start saucing you up the top of the key. Foul him, bros. You're not about to do this to me. Like relax, please, dog, relax. And then he's gonna get the wrong one, and when that happens, dog, like there's just no telling. So you know, if he maybe it's the maturity factor. Maybe he needs as he faces better competition, he needs to just mature his habits, the way he does things. And when that happens, when I see him lock in for a full fight, regardless of who's in front of him, you can still get off what you want to get off against the cage. You know, if you want to run off the cage for a flying knee or elbow, do that, but don't just do it just because you're Michelle. Like, you know, put something to it. If I get that version of him for a 3 to 5 round fight, look, dog. Hey,
he gonna gas
I don't
out.
know.
So he gonna gas out if it's a 5-round fight. So I ain't got to worry about that.
Bro, they'll get him right. They'll get him right.
You know, like just hypothetically, was just curious. I think that's the next fight for both of them, which is actually going to be hard because now that I'm thinking about it, in the UFC Embedded episodes for last week, they were really buddy, and they actually talked about it. They actually talked about it in one of the episodes, and Barallo's side was kind of like, I think it was actually Michelle was talking to Barallo's dad. And his dad was like, "You're gonna fight my son? Like you're gonna fight my son soon?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna fight him." And then he's like, "You might,
no. might actually have to."
So I mean, I don't know if there's a Brazilian bond there. I guess we'll see. Hey, next fight. This is the fight that I wanted to talk about because my boy, the guy who I slander the most out of everyone, Lionheart, Anthony Lionheart Smith.
Dog.
Round 1. Gilly Goose guillotine. Round
Do you know how disappointed I was?
I bet you were.
Bro, Vitor, he's an actual like he's supposed to be the next. He's supposed to be the next young star coming up, making something of himself.
Vitor Petrino he's talking about.
Yeah, Vitor Petrino.
Yeah.
And bro, Anthony Smith, dog, you're talking about a guillotine. Look, there was a moment where Petrino looked like his leg may have got hurt. I don't know what necessarily caused it. I don't know if it ends up being confirmed like an ACL or maybe it was a sprain. But there was a moment where he was standing up after a strike where he definitely looked just not confident on it. And sure enough, it was like moments right after that. That's when things just went downhill for him. I don't have much to say about Anthony Smith, to be honest, because you got a win, dog, but I don't foresee, I don't see anything's going to do with it. We know you're not only unserious, we know you're inconsistent. Your next fight will be against anyone. It'll probably be a loss. Look, until I see that you're back into the top 5 contention, which I don't think is going to happen ever again for him. I'm so cool on Anthony Smith. So cool.
Can you give him his props though?
I feel like this was a Petrino loss, not an Anthony win.
That's not a real,
statement. But hey, Anthony won the fight. So hey, congrats to Anthony.
Right, I will say Vitor looked very strong in there, and it was watching that fight. Vitor fought like he wanted to unleash a nuke, but he just didn't have clearance to do so. He would back up Anthony, he would get him cornered, and he was very twitchy, and he might throw one, but he didn't put it together. Like kind of how we saw Topuria fight Volk. He got him cornered multiple times, but then after a while, he said, "Hey, I'm just gonna go," and he went and he got him out. Right. I don't know why Vitor didn't do that. Anthony Smith, man, like I said, a guy that I slandered a lot, but before this fight, I said the veteran. I just feel like the veteran is going to come on top in this one. And it's kind of a theme that we see throughout this card with Jose Aldo, Pantoja. The veterans they kind of showed out, and he jumped guillotine, which is just a scary thing to do, but he did it and he got him out, man. He's 10. He should probably stay at 10. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if I want to see him necessarily, muddy up the division anymore, but hey, Lionheart.
He'd be giving top contenders free wins, and I don't want that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm off the Anthony train now. That's as much praise as he's gonna get from me. But like I said, the veteran theme seemed to roll strong. Jose Aldo handled Jonathan Martinez, which it's Jose
Handle,
Aldo, so
handle.
it's not that I didn't believe in him, but boy, did he look crisp after being retired for 2 years. He looked crisp. What did you think about him? Seeing him
Jose Aldo looked great. I don't even know where to start. Boxing was crisp. Checking kicks, was able to get inside, fighting outside. You could tell that there was just times where Jonathan he's looked frustrated. He knew this isn't how his fights usually go. And I feel like he just didn't know how to figure out Jose, but it was just experience. I think experience was just a difference. And
Mhm.
Jose just knew, okay, feint, check, draw out a hook. Let me body shot, get up out of there. If he's gonna be at distance, check kick, close the distance real fast. Don't wear yourself out. He paced himself really well. In the past and throughout his career, he's had issues in the first, second round. He just goes and he gets so tired, and that wasn't the case in this situation. It was Martinez. He was the one who actually was tired by the end of the fight, and you see Jose go for a takedown to secure the fight,
I think
which
he
is
tried to,
something
I think he tried to spare him there, honestly, because he had him wobbled and he hurt
he
him, and he
yes
could have really got him up out of there, but
easily could have.
he went for the takedown. I think he did him a little justice there.
And like shout out to like Martinez, like he looked going up leading up to this fight, all the fights he's prior, he looked great. He fought an absolute legend. I know he was sick at the
Yeah,
end of that fight.
he was
He
crying.
was sick,
He was crying.
pretty much moved to tears. But I mean, it's Jose Aldo. You need to be proud of the fact that you got the opportunity to face someone at this skill level. And all, if anything, he showed you're still some holes in your game. Like Jose, though he's older, every time he steps into the octagon, outside of when he fought Peter Yan, he's looked really great. He hasn't ever stepped in the octagon that's looked like trash. So you have to expect that he's gonna be in there and bring it to some kind of degree. It just really comes down to if he can hold up his cardio, and this time his cardio held up.
No, for sure. I mean, but you got to imagine, like, and we've seen it in this sport a few times, Izzy versus Anderson, things like that. When you're facing, somebody that you essentially idolize since you were young, and I mean, every UFC featherweight, honestly, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, it really didn't matter what
Right.
division, you're looking up to Jose Aldo. And then you get in the ring with him and you get to go toe to toe and you just get outclassed. Like it's probably hard to deal with, to be honest.
Humbling. It has to be humbling. It has to be humbling. But I think it has to be the type of humbling where like I mean, when you go against if you're an athlete like yourself, you go against a top receiver. You go against for a basketball player going against like your idol. There's guys going against LeBron James that were in diapers when he first joined the league.
Mhm.
Like when it's someone like that who gets the better of you, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. Like it's not like Jose some scrub. It's not like he's like Clay Guida. I'm hollering. I'm not. I'll
Whoa,
shout out to Clay
whoa,
Guida. He's good. He's good
whoa,
people. He's good
whoa.
people. He's good people.
Talk about Clay Guida.
But I'm just saying to say Jose is literally one of the greatest to ever do it. And to lose to him, you gotta take it with a grain of salt because he's always been great. One of the better strikers. He's always been quick, fast, great instincts. One of the better leg kicks. He was Martinez before Martinez. He
He
was the
was.
one with all the fancy, crazy outside leg kicks.
He
I
was.
mean, you can't be too mad about it. He had a good performance either way. It just unfortunately was a loss. It wasn't his day.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's gonna be fine. He's young. He has a lot of time left. He's gonna learn a lot from this. Hopefully, he does. I think he has a good camp out there, so I anticipate he learns a lot from this. Last fight we talk about from 301 championship bout. Alexander Pantoja. He outlasted Steve Erceg, and let me just say, Steve Erceg got brought into the UFC in June of 2023. So he's 10 months, 11 months into his UFC
Newbie.
career. He's fighting for a title in enemy territory in Brazil. He's counted out. Nobody really expects him. I know the line was closed. He was like plus 100 something, but nobody expected him to win. He came out there and he looked good, man. He
Looked
looked
great.
good. He looked good. He looked crisp. He was controlling distance when he could. But the thing that we said in last week's episode, Steve has a problem sometimes with trying to keep the fight too clean. When you're
Yes.
facing the top
Yes.
of the division, when you're facing the top guys, they're going to make it dirty. Like some guys aren't, but some guys will. The champion in this division, he is probably one of the, as far as champions go, current champs, he's probably the dirtiest champion. Like he wants to make the fight dirty, and he did that. He
Very
outlasted
messy.
him. Yeah, he outpaced him. He really was. Pantoja was really getting outclassed. I'm not gonna lie. If you watch the fight, he was getting outclassed on the feet, but he just would rush in, get a takedown when he needed it, clinch, dirty work, and he got out of there with a win.
You know, and I'll admit that the last few rounds I wasn't able to catch. I was out with some buddies watching the card. Things kind of went a little sideways. You know, I kind of missed the last few rounds. But from your opinion, from just your opinion though, I was able to see a lot of opinions about people saying they had it. They had it going Usyk's way, and a lot of people felt that Usyk did more than enough to show that people. Some people were talking about robbery. I don't know. I didn't see the last few rounds, but like from what you saw from that fight, what kind of feeling did you get? Did you feel Usyk did enough? Was there anything that you skeptical about if he should have been the winner of that fight or not?
I'll say this. There was a judge who had it 49-46. I think that was disgraceful. It was not a 49-46 fight. Like I don't know what judge, probably Mike Bell. You know, don't get me started on him. But no, that was a 48-47 win for Pantoja. I will say once Usyk kind of started to figure out, he would catch his flows, but it just wasn't enough. He didn't do enough. And that was my issue with him was you got to go. And he did, but Pantoja just went a little more. And I have to give a lot of credit to Pantoja because like I said, Usyk looked better. He looked like the more skilled fighter. But he didn't do enough to take the belt from him. I will say that.
Okay, that's where I was going to ask next. Did you feel he did enough to take it from him?
No,
Because many would say he did. I don't know. From what I could tell, it's a lot of mixed opinions out there, and there wasn't like a singular moment that seemed to have swayed everybody left or right. The fight kind of just went on the way it did for pretty much all 5 rounds, from what I could tell, looking at different feeds and whatnot. And it was like almost 50-50 for a lot of people.
It definitely. I don't know. It's hard. Because 48. I think 48-47 was good, and I'm not a big fan of the challenger has to take the belt from the holder because a lot of people do feel like that. I don't necessarily feel like that. I feel like a fight is a fight. Doesn't matter. Like once you get into the octagon, everything's even. You know, the going into it, all the press conferences, all that. Sure, there's a title holder and there's a challenger. Once the gates are closed, you're in the octagon. There is none of that. So, I don't know. I had it 48-47. I thought Pantoja did enough. I thought Usyk did look good though. And even just hearing him speak after the fight, it didn't really seem like he believed he won. And I think that's a big indicator of whether a fight was scored correctly. It's not the end all be all because there are instances where, for example, Yuri Prohashka, after he lost to Alex Pereira, he said, "I lost fair and square." Da, 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 da. And then he came out a few weeks later and he's like, "The ref stopped it early. You know, I didn't have time to process my emotions." Da, 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 da. So it's not the end all be all, but he just seemed kind of defeated after, and I think he knew he lost. So I don't know. I think he'll be fine though.
I'm excited for Usyk future.
Let me see where he's at. He actually rose to the 9. He was 10 after the fight. Now he's 9. So I don't know.
He should be higher. You almost beat the champion at 10.
You know what? Mateus Nicolau, who just got knocked out by Alex Perez, is at 8. So I think I do agree. I can't put him much higher. You can't rise more than twice after a loss. I don't care
Okay.
how good
Okay.
the loss
Okay.
was.
How good of a loss it was after
No,
a
no,
loss.
no. But I agree. I think he could be like he could be around 9 or 8. Some good fights for him in the future.
Definitely will. He showed he belonged in there with the champion. He belonged in there for
Yeah,
sure.
he can strike with anybody in this division.
Mm.
I don't want to
Kai
give him.
Car
I don't want to feed him to the dogs yet. I don't want to feed him to the Roy Vals, to the Morenos. I don't
Kai
want to
Car
do that.
friends.
I would love that. They're Aussies. I don't know if that's he's Kai's from New Zealand, so I don't know if there's like a bond there. But if there isn't, I would love that fight. I don't know what Kai Car France is doing. I mean, he's been concussed for like 2 years now. I don't really know what he's doing, but
I don't know how long it's been, but his last fight that was against Moreno, wasn't it? His last fight.
it honestly might have been. It might have
I
been.
believe his last fight was against Moreno. I don't know how long ago that was, but I think that was his last fight.
Either way, I would not mind a Kai Car France Steve Ursig. I wouldn't mind Steve Ursig facing Alex Perez, who just got a win, like we just mentioned.
Oh yeah, that's a good stepping stone for sure. That's a good
You
stepping
that's. I think those are decent. I don't know what's up for Pantoja next. I mean, shoot,
stone. He may be sitting. He may be on vacation for a second. He
he's
may be
talking.
on vacation for a second.
There has been a lot of drama on Twitter, or X as they call it, with Sean O'Malley. They've been a back and forth with those two. Sean released sparring footage. Pantoja said that's not all the footage. Obviously, Pantoja would have to go up to 135. I don't want to see that. I'm sorry, I don't want to see that. Sean's gonna eliminate him.
See, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think
Bro,
Sean eliminates him.
come on. We just.
Pantoja's gonna fight the exact way Sean doesn't want to fight.
But
And don't get me wrong, Sean has a nice little grappling game, but Pantoja definitely dominates there.
true, I don't think it gets there though.
You think?
And we're gonna have a way better idea of Sean's defense once he faces Marab. But similar to Aljo, I think Sean's one of the best. And I hate to put it like this because like Sean O'Malley, like I have the most respect for him. I don't think there's a better runner in the UFC than Sean
Oh,
O'Malley. Like if he doesn't literally run, but he has a very good way of not engaging. He'll engage when he has to. We saw it versus Peter Yan. He engages when he has to. But I don't think there's a guy better at keeping him at distance. Steve Ursig, when the fight got dirty, he had no answer. Sean, I think he can keep that distance from a Pantoja when it gets dirty.
he has length on him, so he definitely has a path to being able to be more evasive. But Pantoja, man, he can take a shot and he'll keep coming at you. He doesn't care about all that fanciness. He's gonna have to run the whole fight if he's gonna do it. He's gonna have to be on his high horse the whole fight. And it's not you ain't facing Cheeto in there, who's not gonna try to come at you the first few rounds. Pantoja's gonna be in your face. He's gonna be in there.
For sure.
And I don't know, man. He catches a kick. He counters a punch with a nice little shot. Maybe clinches up. I don't know, man. I could see a Pantoja maybe making it dirty against Sean. It's that Sean isn't. I don't think strong enough. I don't think once the fight gets dirty, once it gets muddy, and once they get within range of each other, I don't know if Sean will be able to keep him off him if they clinch up. I don't think he'll be able to do that.
That's interesting take. All hypotheticals. I don't know if I agree with the strength aspect, especially because Pantoja would be coming up in weight.
Yeah,
Um,
I know,
but
but something about
yeah.
it.
So you want to see that?
I would see it.
You would
I would
see
see
it,
it.
or you want to see it? There's a difference.
Um,
I personally,
for personal reasons, I would like to see it because I don't want Ilya facing Sean for other personal reasons.
nah, Ilya, he has his trust me, he has his hands full. He's well
This
taken care
guy,
of. We don't got to worry about who he's
this
facing
guy
next.
talking about hands full.
He,
Your guy has his hands full.
they both do. Two, Max Holloway, Ilya Topuria, two high skilled guys. But regardless, I don't know. It's interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing Sean versus Pantoja, but I'm not chomping at the bit to see it. But yeah, either way, Great card last week. Let's move on to the fight at hand. UFC Fight Night, St. Louis.
Oh yeah,
Which I'm glad we're getting back to having fight nights in smaller markets. Um,
right. Bring
it's
on to Cleveland, man.
bro, they haven't been. They only come to Cleveland when Stipe fights. It's so
I hate that.
wow.
It's
Like it's
gross.
it's not like they went to Columbus in what 2021, but yeah, they haven't been to Cleveland since
That was a bad card too. That card was bad.
the Columbus one.
Yes,
Yeah, I think it only had like it was Curtis Blades. I think it wasn't that good.
it was not heat at all.
But I don't even care. I really don't. Like if they I don't care what the card is. If they need to make a stop in Cleveland, call that a day. But
Send it
St.
to the
Louis
field house.
St. Louis got their card, got their they got their bouts. First, let's talk about first of all, we got some good fights. We got some sleepers
Oh
on
man,
here. We got some good things. We got Chase Hooper, we got Terrence McKinney. And I know we talked a little bit about them last week. I guess let me just ask, you're in Chase Hooper's corner. What is your game plan? You're his coach. You're telling him in the back. What's your game plan, Chase?
hey, do what you do best. I can only assume when it comes to Chase Hooper, he's been working on his striking. That's like the one thing he must be working on.
Mm.
But let's just be honest here. He's young. He almost had virtually no kind of striking game coming into the UFC. I doubt it's up to par right now. I I can only imagine someone like him. He needs to work on his defense, work on his feinting. If you're not going to be the draw out a strike and counter that strike, if you're not going to be the guy who's going to be first all the time, work on covering up your footwork, and don't just go for blind takedowns. Set them up, set them up. The worst thing about especially jiu-jitsu guys, especially, but even some wrestlers do that when they rely on it so heavily. They don't set up their takedowns. They just go. They
Yeah,
just go for a leg. They just go
they're
for the
they're, re-
body.
they're
They
reaching.
just reach. And I see it from a mile away. After the second or third time I stuff that, the fourth time is gonna be a knee to your cranium. Like I'm not gonna keep letting you do this. I'm gonna time it up eventually.
Uh,
Like, set it up. Just you don't have to be a striking threat necessarily, but you need to just show him something. A couple jabs, couple combos, feint something, get him to react, then go for it. And then you have him in your world. Your hands are now on him. You're both on the ground. You have him in your world. If you can execute that game plan, at least for the next year and a half or so, until you get to a comfortable spot where you can start really challenging some of these better fighters striking wise, I think he has the opportunity to be someone. He just needs to get there.
no, I agree. And he's still young, only 24, came into the UFC at like 19, 20, something like that.
Young bull.
You're very, very young bull, man. I think what you said you hit it on the head. It is easier said than done.
It is.
Um, for especially when it comes, I think the takedown aspect though, I think that should be fixed by now. We should be seeing skillful takedowns that aren't. When they reached, I get nervous
No,
when
reaching looks
these guys
nasty.
reach because it's like, man, there's so much because it's so visible. Like it's so visible. It looks like it's in slow motion. It just gives me the EBGBs, like knowing his opponent could potentially end right there. So
Don't reach, young blood. Don't reach.
no, that's good advice. I'll tell him that. I got you.
Please do. Send him a DM.
Um,
Send him by carrier pigeon.
for sure. The other guy, Terrence McKinney, another exciting fighter. He has 8-second knockouts in his career. I'm just giving advice to him. Hey, Terrence, be you. Be that exciting guy. Fight smart, but don't lose who you are. Some of these fighters, when they
Facts.
get into, you know, the upper echelon, he's not necessarily in the upper echelon, but for a minute he had a jetpack to his back. He was rising up the ranks. He was fighting better competition. And I feel like sometimes you don't get starstruck, but you just get nervous. You get kind of tentative. And Terrence, don't be tentative this fight. Let
Please
it
don't.
all go. You are facing, a guy, Esteban Ribovics. You're facing a guy, but be you. We've seen it. Um, don't waste all your energy trying to be the guy. Just naturally be the guy. And I think you're one of the more skilled lightweights that we've seen
Facts.
recently. You went on your little slump. Get back on the train track. You've won. You've pieced a few together. Let's continue that.
For sure.
Nothing crazy, but hey, let's talk about this main card
Hey now.
because we got to return to some guys. Waldo Cortez Acosta, and he's facing, I don't even know what his nickname is, but he just reminds me of a RoboCop, Robelis Despain,
A
the six
RoboCop.
seven, the 6'7" just monster in there. What we get to see him. We saw him last fight. He knocked the guy out going backpedaling. What are your initial thoughts here?
To be honest, look, Robelis is the Hulk, man. Like I genuinely don't know what anyone can do with him. What's the number? It's like his last 4 fights have combined for like 37 seconds in fight time.
Something like
His
that.
last 4 fights has combined for 37 seconds of fight time.
I will say his last fight was his first fight in the UFC. I will say that, which is crazy because it was on a pay-per-view. So that's how you know he's the real deal. But to be
Facts.
fair, I'm just pointing it out there. It was in some other organizations, but
But
continue.
it's crazy nonetheless.
No, it is. Regardless, it is.
Look, I'm not gonna be the one who can say like I could survive a fight against him, but I feel like I can run from him for about maybe 15 to 20 seconds.
I don't
I
even
can
know.
run.
I
I
don't
can
know.
get away for 20 seconds.
He might corner you, man. I don't know.
Go between the legs. Go
His
through.
reach, bro.
Pause.
His reach.
No, and that's 84 inches, the longest in UFC history. Pause. I really don't know. I really don't know, dog. Like he is. It's honestly he's something made from a factory. Crazy strength. Anytime you look at his highlights, it doesn't matter how the strike comes. When it comes and when he hits you with that punch, it takes you out.
Okay.
He's a Taekwondo bronze medalist. I believe he won it in 2014 with gold. I mean, what do you do with a guy of this size, this stature, this kind of striking? We've never. I haven't seen his grappling, but I have. I almost believe there's no way we will see it anytime soon. Especially, look, don't get me wrong. Waldo is actually a pretty decent striker.
Waldo's a guy.
But I don't. He struggles versus. I feel when I watch this film, I feel like he struggled with mirror matches when he fought other strikers that were kickboxers who could fight at a mixture of paces, who can also throw outside leg kicks. Though, like he throws a lot of leg kicks, people land a lot of leg kicks against him. Like I don't know why, but the fact that he faces someone that's kind of like minded like him, for some reason, just he doesn't know how to kind of go against himself.
Mm-hmm.
And someone of Taekwondo stature as Robelis, look, Waldo, you're great, bro. You're 5 wins by KO, a sub, 3 first round finishes, 11-1. You're probably 11-2, dog. Unfortunately,
I mean, I don't hate it. I like Waldo, man. He beat my guy Orlovsky. Beat Chase Sherman. He has names on his resume, which I think goes in his favor. Despain doesn't necessarily have that experience. Even his last fight. Now, hey, great knockout. It was Sports Center worthy. He was on his
okay.
back foot. He was backpedaling for dear life. I think the guy he was facing was a little too forward with his approach, but he did have him on the back foot. So it's not like this guy is just mowing people down and there's no chance. Like you can get him on the back foot. You can force him against the cage. You got to be patient, I feel like, when you're facing him, though. You can't make it a firefight because he controls distance too well. He has too much in the arsenal for that. But
Way too much in Arsenal.
if Waldo can kind of be more patient, which I think he's a more patient fighter than Despain's probably seen in his career, I think Waldo. I do think Despain wins this fight. I don't think this is going to be over in 20 seconds. I don't
Bro,
think.
Despain's in the gym practicing spinning high kicks.
What is that? Oh
He's in
my.
the gym. He's like what? He's probably about what 6'6",
He's 6'7".
6'6". Woo!
He's
He's
6'7".
6'7". I don't know how much he weighs. He weighs us
260.
out there, out there throwing karate kicks, spinning kicks. That's just casually on his day off. No one survived a clean right hand from him yet. Look, Waldo, you're in. Look, I would say this: don't let the legend defeat you. Don't let the legend defeat you. Don't walk in there already with the legend of him defeat you. You have to come confident. Just don't be overconfident. Just don't be over.
I just want it on record. Despain can't dunk. I saw him try to dunk and he can't. So
Okay.
for
Well, I didn't say
literally whatever that's worth, he can't
well,
dunk.
I didn't say he was athletic. So
I don't. I saw a video of him literally at a basketball court. He had no shoes on. He tried to dunk. He did a layup, and I was like, it doesn't mean anything, obviously, but just want to put that on your radar. I do think Despain wins this. Not much more to even say about that. I'm excited for it, though. I'm very excited for it.
I'll give you that.
Next fight, man. Alex Caceres, Sean Woodson. I like this. I like this bout. I like both of these fighters. They both are relatively experienced. I know Caceres has been in this for a while. He's a vet.
A while.
Yeah,
a long time.
No, for sure. He's seen the best. He's been with the best. All that. Sean Woodson though is a guy that has credible wins under his resume. He last beat Charles Jourdain. He's 6'2", which is kind of crazy. This is a crazy featherweight fight. I mean,
it is
5'10", and
yeah.
Sean Woodson is beating him by 4 inches. He's 6'2". I don't know. I'm kind of flip floppy on who I think is going to win this. Where are you kind of leaning? What are you thinking?
I think this is going to be an Alex win here.
Really?
Sean, there's two things Sean doesn't do well enough for me. He doesn't utilize his reach advantage enough to be such a taller and
in the division
elongated fighter.
Right.
And I believe he's almost too smart for his own good sometimes. He sticks to his game plan. Whatever it is that he believes is like his corner tells him, that's the thing he does. That's the thing he throws. He's not creative enough, I feel like. He's not technically sound enough to be in a fight with another striker like Alex and be able to nickel and dime him to death. He's going to have to go for some chances, and he doesn't do that enough. He's too almost technical. Where Alex, he's all over the place. He's one of the best kickboxers we've seen. He's athletic. He can throw kicks with the best of them. He's a really good submissionist as well too. He, as a grappler, he could be better. He sometimes loses positions very randomly at times, where I can't say Sean can't take advantage of. But if you're on the ground with him, he's definitely dangerous for the submission at any point. But as long as this fight's standing up, I think Alex has the advantage here almost clearly. He uses distance almost like the best I've seen of a lot of fighters, even some championship fighters. He's gonna keep you at the end of his reach, hit you, head kicks, spinning kicks. He's athletic enough to go for some flying stuff. It's all gonna be so random. You don't know what's gonna happen. Spinning elbows, you just don't know what's gonna happen. He's a big fan of Bruce Lee. I believe he also learn like Jeet Kune Do, like Bruce Lee was a part of. He's a master of martial arts. He wants to learn more about all the different disciplines. He's a special guy. He just has always had trouble stringing them together. I think this is one he can start with.
I was gonna say, because we talked about him last week. You had some smoke for Alex Caceres last week, or
You're right, but I didn't realize this point with Sean Woodson. So
Sean's good. Sean's 11-1.
He is. That's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think stylistic. I think this is more of a stylistic situation. Right. Stylistically, I don't think Sean has what it takes to beat an Alex. I think he'll always have trouble with more creative kickboxers like Alex. Right. Granted, there's not a whole bunch of them that get down like Alex gets down, but I feel like stylistically, this is not the kind of fight Sean wants. But don't be like Sean has a really good straight and cross. If he can land a cross or a straight against Alex, that can maybe throw him off his balance a little bit. Because Alex does get tagged at times. He does get tagged, especially against the cage. You could throw a couple hooks at him, and he's bound to get hit by one of them. I don't know. His head movement could definitely be a lot better. If Sean can do one of those things to him, I don't know. Like Sean has a opportunity to beat him, but as long as this fight stays as clean as possible, I think Alex should be the winner.
Yeah, I think I do agree. I also think that kind of like we were talking about Pantoja earlier, Caceres, hey, he's eloquent, he's smooth, he's all this, but he also gets down. Like he can make it dirty. He can get in the pocket. He's been in some wars. He hasn't always won the wars.
That's
Like
true.
his fight with Giga, he didn't win it, but he's very well respected when he's in there. I don't know if Sean got that dog in him. I think he does. He might. He really might, but
I feel like he does. I feel like he does. I feel like he does. We just haven't seen it yet, but
needs
he
to
needs to show
unleash
it.
it. I think that's what it is. I think he has it in him. We just need to see that. And Caceres might be the guy to bring it out. So I don't know. That'll be another good fight to tap into.
For sure.
What about this Carlos Olberg, Alonzo Menefield? CKB, stand up. Stand up. You know where I'm rocking.
CKB.
You know where I'm rocking. Carlos
This was an
Olberg.
interesting matchup, honestly, because I had to actually do some research on both of them to kind of get a feel for who I think was going to do what to who. And I'm not going to lie, Alonzo Menefield impressed me more than I thought he would going back and looking at his tape.
No, he's good.
He has one shot knockout power. He slings them. Don't get me wrong, he slings them, Johns. You know it comes out of nowhere at times, but he left, right, and any of them could take you out at any given moment. He's devastating ground and pound. Do not be on your back with him on top of you. Devastating. Former football player, crazy athletic. I know you. I mean, I don't know if you side with that a little bit, but I feel like something you should, appreciate. You should look at. He's very explosive. I mean, to be completely honest, after looking at the tape, Alonzo felt like the guy I wanted to go with. Don't get me wrong, Carlos definitely he's a great fighter. He's won quite a few fights in a row now. He's finished 4 of his last, I believe 5 opponents it is. He mixes up, kicks very well. He has a lot of volume when he strikes. He just does light heavyweight almost the right way. He's got perfect balance of speed and power. He's not just a power guy. He's not just a combination guy. He's gonna put it all together. I think he's gonna get in trouble. I think he's gonna get in trouble. He's gonna be in the pocket a little too long, going for an extended combination, and Menifield's gonna land that strike. I think that's how this is gonna go.
So you're rocking with Menefield.
I'm going Menefield, man.
I mean, hey, Menefield is, like you said, he's a solid. He's well rounded. I personally think if he wants to win, he takes it to the ground, and like you said, devastating ground and pound. I think he takes the fight there. Because on the feet, I don't think he really has much for Olberg. He has one shot knockout power, as you stated, but you got to land that, and I just don't think he's going to be able to. I think Olberg, he learned from his fight with Kennedy. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. The very tall heavyweight. He's like 6'5", who I'm a big fan of. They had a fight at the Apex, and Olberg was literally winning the fight, but he got cornered up against the cage. I don't know why they do that at CKB, City Kickboxing. They must work on off the cage fighting a lot. Izzy does the literal same thing.
Get complacent.
No, that's not what it is.
I don't know.
It's not literally not what it is. He got put up against the cage, and Olberg did, and Kennedy got him up out of there. He, like you said, he went for a long combination, got caught. I think he learned from that, and we've seen that in the subsequent fights. If he's up against the cage, he evades. He has movement. He tries to keep the distance, which he's going to be able to do against Menefield. I don't think Menefield gets him to the ground. I don't think For,
I don't know. He's so much stronger and just naturally bigger than him. Like, here's my thing.
Goldberg's big too.
But Oberg goes for so many combinations. He's gonna get look to land these extended combinations. You have to be up in there. You gotta be. As long as he's with that game plan, you're gonna overstay your welcome at some point.
Right.
At some point, it's gonna get overstayed because that's just who you are as a fighter. And there's nothing's wrong with that. But I don't think he's. I don't think he's. I think he's quick. I think he's pretty fast. I don't think he's that quick. I don't think he's that fast. Because Menifield has bombs on each hand, and he's just waiting to detonate them, waiting on it.
I mean, will they land? That is to be seen.
Look, even if Olberg does land a few combinations, it's only a matter of time where Menifield says, "We'll just take you down." And like I said, he's detonating them every time he a ground strike. He has some devastating ground and pound, man.
CKB.
Devastating. If he gets you on the ground, it's doom. It's nukes blowing up. I don't know, dog. I'm just trying to say, I don't know. This is the guy to play with.
They teach that takedown defense at CKB. That's one thing they do work on is takedown defense. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I would love to see the stats on Olberg and how much he's been taken down. I can't imagine it's much. That might have to do with his opponents, but hey, we're going to see, because I think Menifield is going to try to mix it up. When you're facing somebody who is lethal on the feet, not necessarily from a power standpoint, but from a precision standpoint, I think you mix it up to try to throw him off. But
I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's an interesting matchup. This is like a perfect combination of speed versus power, striking wise. I don't think either of them opt to go to the ground unless Menifield starts losing. I think Menifield goes to the ground if he starts losing. I don't think either of them opt to do that. But as long as it's striking, I'm very curious to see how does this go? How does the speed versus power go? Which one prevails?
It should be very exciting. Menifield is usually I used to side with the former football players. Football player Dominic Reyes didn't side with Greg Hardy. Not going to give me there, but Dominic Reyes, I did side with him because he played at Stony Brook. So I do like when football players make the transition. They're just natural. They're naturally for it. They bring that aggression. They bring the footwork. They bring the speed, the power, all of that. They just got to, put it together. I think Menifield did a good job of that. Won't be enough though. Sadly, won't be enough this week. We will.
We'll see.
Co-main event. New Mansa,
My
your
guy.
boy, Joaquin Buckley versus, let me try to get this right, Nursultan Ruziboyev. Who?
That was pretty good. I think that was pretty good.
Very cultured out here.
Okay.
But no, Joaquin Buckley, he called his shot for this. He wasn't on this card. He had a great knockout of Vicente Luque last time he was in the octagon. It was, he was partying the same day before the fight. He wasn't drinking or nothing, but he was out and about.
Having a good time.
He won the fans back over after his viral knockout a few years ago. It seems that he's just up and thriving. He popped up on Dana White at a UFC 300 press conference. He said, "Hey, let me headline UFC St. Louis." He didn't get to headline it, but he's co. So I don't know. The sky's the limit for this guy, but he's facing a stud. He's facing a stud in Ruziboyev, who, I don't know, could pose some issues. What are you thinking?
Look, I will say Sultan's record is extremely impressive, especially to be a younger UFC fighter, like a newer guy.
34-8.
32 of 34 wins by finish is absolutely insane.
He's getting to it.
32 of 34 wins.
Mm-hmm.
He accidentally fell into some decision dubs. Accidentally. I don't know how long those fights were. He was in his other promotion. You would have thought they were 30-minute fights and they just let him go until someone just died on the mat.
Honestly.
But that many finish, bro, 20 wins by submission? 12 by knockout. Hold on. 25 first round finishes.
Yeah, he gets to it.
Insanity. I mean,
That's
Joaquin's in
that's
for
a
something.
problem.
No
That's
cap.
a problem for Buckley, bro.
No cap. Like Joaquin's in. He's his hands full. This isn't the one. I ain't gonna lie to you. While you're still trying to come up, this ain't the one.
And yeah, it's insane. He's only 30.
Bro, he has crazy power in his hands.
Oh,
He's
for
another
sure,
guy that has detonators.
for sure.
Bro, his overhand right, his right uppercut and right overhand is crazy.
Mm.
Like those are legitimate 12 KOs right there. Legitimate.
Oh, for sure.
What Keem's gonna have to get his high horse. We're gonna have to see some footwork. We're gonna have to see dog in there moving in and out, high kicks, mid kicks, body shots, hooks to the head. Please land some leg kicks. Don't let him just walk all over you when he wants to. Mix it up continuously and do not get into a war with him.
Mm.
Do not. He loves the counter right upper. He loves the counter right hand. Please circle towards his lead hand. And even still, watch out for it because it's coming at you fast. This is a chunker. This is a if people knew Nur Sultan a little bit more, I think they'd understand what like the degree of this fight. This is a chunker.
Oh, for sure. I think it's he's relatively new to the UFC. Only 2 fights in. Less than a year since he got in. But this boy's experience, man. I mean, I don't know if people realize you get over 40 professional fights before the age of 30. Like you really were grinding. You've seen everything. You don't necessarily need to see different things. Like you've seen it all at that point. You've
Oh,
you've seen every type of fighter. You've seen the strikers. You've seen the kickboxers. You've seen the wrestlers, the grapplers, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the sambo. You've seen everything, and I don't know. I think he poses a lot of challenges for Buckley, enough to
I
the
think he
point where I think he takes this.
I think he can be a dark horse of the division. But I'm gonna go with my dog though, a Buckley,
All
because I
biased.
want to see him come up. I think he has stardom written on him. He has the hands. I believe he has the smarts. His cardio has seemed to be holding up his last few fights. I believe that he can make it in this division.
Mhm.
I think he needs to hold Sultan off. Unfortunately, one more fight before he makes his stardom, and if he can do that, both of them are going to have a future. I think these are two fighters that are going to be top five and stay there for a while if they can get it together.
Oh, for sure. This is probably the fight I'm looking forward to the most, just because I don't think it's going to be a snoozer at all. Like we said,
Oh man, this
Grizzly
is ending
Boy,
in
he has first round exit written all on him, and
yeah.
we've seen Buckley what he's been able to do with flash knockouts and taking out guys like Vicente Luque, who I said. So we're in for a treat here.
Oh man, for sure. That's going to be something that I'm maybe more excited for that fight in the main event. To be completely honest with you,
Speaking of, your favorite fighter is back
and
in
this
the
is the
main
reason
event.
why.
Your favorite fighter.
This is the reason why
Derrick
I'm more
Lewis,
excited.
the Black Beast. He's facing Rodrigo Nascimento. Um, Derrick's back, man. I don't know which Derrick we're gonna get. I don't know which Derrick we're gonna get, to be honest.
Look, it needs to be skinny Derek, not skinny, but like he needs to be in there working on the footwork. He needs to be in there working on his grappling because he's gonna need it. This isn't gonna be just simple, just walk opponent down, throw amazing right hand for a flash knockout, greatest knockout artist in UFC history. It's not gonna be that, dog. You're gonna have to unfortunately, get on all fours at some point and figure out how to stand back up. That's what this is gonna be.
I mean, you're right, but we're talking about Derrick Lewis. We're talking about one of the most explosive, just people that we've seen, personality and skill wise, that we've seen. Rodrigo Nascimento is no slouch. And like we said, he's going to take it to the ground. He probably watched Derrick Lewis versus Jalton Almeida
All he had to watch. All he had
and
to
took
watch.
notes. He probably watched that and took a lot of notes. He said, okay, take Derrick down, hold him. and that's a path to victory. Will he do that? We don't know. I don't know his game plan. Um, he has good stand up as well, so he's not going to be theming for the takedown or
Bro,
to
don't play with it.
grapple.
Do not play with it. Do not play with it. Do not. Do not. He has the knockout record in the UFC. I don't like that he has it, but he has it.
Does.
Therefore, don't be another statistic. Don't be statistic. Don't be one of those. Please don't.
So, unfortunately, if Derrick loses, is this the end of Derrick Lewis? Where does he go from here? Where does the UFC go from here?
Well,
Is his personality enough to keep him in?
Rodrigo's ranked 15. Therefore, especially if he can TKO or submit Derrick, he has to be unranked. Now, he's too big of a personality. He owns a record. He owns most knockouts in UFC history.
Right.
I think that's kind of embarrassing to be in that situation, to be an unranked fighter with all this experience. Used to be top 5, used to be top 3, and now you're unranked. You either lose this fight, you either have to retire pretty much like at that fight. Don't wait a day or two later. Make sure, hey, put the gloves down. Do not let the ranks even update. You can't let the rank even update. They gotta say you retired at what is he at? You retired at 12. You retired at 12. I actually need to say you retired at 12. Or maybe Dana throws him a bone. Maybe Dana puts him at 15 and gives him one more shot. I think either way, he's unbelievable. He's lost quite a few fights recently, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been on somewhat of a skid. He's 1-4 in his last 5, so it's not looking
And
too
he's
great.
older
But it's
now.
Derrick Lewis though.
He's older now too.
He's heavyweight, doesn't count. Age don't count at heavyweight. We saw Glover Teixeira win a belt at 42.
Okay,
Derrick still got time if we're keeping
bro.
it real,
At rank 12, dog. Do you know what he'd
bro.
have to do?
I mean, shoot, you rattle off 3 wins, you're in the top
Oh,
5.
okay. If he loses, Dana can get his money one more again with Derrick Lewis. Put him against Rebellis.
All
You
right.
put you hand in that fight. Derrick can hand the torch to Rebellis.
The torch. You don't want that torch. I get what
Rebellis
you're
probably
saying.
wants the torch.
I
He
get
wants
what
the torch,
I get what you're saying.
and that could be the passing of the guard. That could be the fight. You put Derrick at 15. You have that be the if Rebellis wins this fight, you let that be the fight to let Rebellis get ranked, especially against a Derrick Lewis. It's gonna end a knockout one way or another. It's gonna end in a knockout.
For sure.
You can schedule that for 3. You can schedule it for 2 rounds if you want to. It ain't making it out of 2. Someone gets knocked out. Either Rebellis stays unranked, he has to fight someone else to become ranked, and Derrick Lewis gets to go out at least a ranked fighter and retire from there, or Rebellis defeats Derrick, becomes a ranked fighter. He's the one who gets to retire Derrick Lewis, and Derrick gets to run off to the sunset and just to be, enjoy his time back in Texas, back in the H.
I don't think we can do that yet, bro. I don't think we can do that yet because I get on paper, Robellis Despain is way better than Derrick Lewis on paper, but on paper isn't in the octagon. Derrick is, he's like I said, he's very explosive. If I see them fighting each other, I see Derrick kind of not really throwing much. Robella's kind of trying to lead the dance, and then Derrick going for these blitzes.
Yes, he loves that.
Yeah, he goes for these blitzes, and I don't know if Despain, right now against a Derrick Lewis, against a Waldo blitz, I think he can handle that. Derrick Lewis blitz, that's a lot to ask of somebody who just made their debut in the UFC.
This is a Taekwondo guy. He don't so he has footwork. He has that. Plus, he's also around like 35, 36 years old. He ain't no spring chicken either. if you're gonna have him go for it, this is now, now, now is the time for him to do it.
He is old. I didn't know he was that old.
Yeah, yeah, he is. It's crazy, right?
Because he
So
did have a yeah. Okay.
if you're gonna have him do it, yeah, it has to be now.
But again, he's at heavyweight, so it doesn't count. He's a young spring chicken in heavyweight, relatively.
Not young spring chicken.
I mean, low key. I mean, obviously not young as guys like Tom Aspinall, but I mean, 35. Lord willing, you got at least another 5 years of your prime. Now,
Prime
you
for a
potentially,
heavyweight, I think your prime
potentially,
ends at like 38, 39.
potentially.
I think that's the end of it there.
I think it all comes down to your chin. Um, how much damage you've taken. If you haven't taken much damage and decent, because speed doesn't matter that much. It's all about power. They say power is the last thing to go. As long as you keep your power, I don't think I think you can hold your prime later than expected. Guys at middleweight, welterweight, lightweight. You get to 40, it's like only the blessed guys can still go when they're that old there. But
Facts.
in heavyweight, I mean, shoot, Yoel Romero's like 46, and he's Atlantic.
He's different. He's a natural freak of nature.
He's a
Like
freaking
he's a
chicken.
freak of nature.
I agree. Either way, Derrick Lewis, you need a dub.
Oh man, need to keep man. Look, you can't. You be going out sad. No, you don't. You'll go face Rebellis next. You won't go outside, but you need a dub here if you want to stay relevant to
He's
any
not.
degree,
He's not facing Robellis, bro. Come on.
bro. If he loses this fight facing Rebellis,
I guess we'll see. Like I said, exciting main card. Even the prelims, bro. The prelims got some sleepers. Like we said, Terrence McKinney, Chase Hooper, Tabitha Ritchie's on there. Trey Waters is on there. Billy Ray Goff is on there. We got some fights. I'm very excited. Everybody tap in. Plays of the week. You got any? Let's get back to the plays of the week, man. Give these people a blessing. Bless their pockets.
yo, Diego Ferreira is plus 380 on this card. Now I know a lot of you may not be super hip to Diego, but look, I've done the research. He's worth looking into. I know people don't want to bet on people they don't know about. They don't, they're not hip on. But Diego has some dog in him. He's a decent fighter, generally all around. And let me see, who was he facing? I forgot who it was.
He's facing Rebecca.
He's facing Rebecca, which he's a good fighter. He's smooth. He's decent. He's mad decent. Don't get me wrong. Like he's a favorite. He's minus 500. He's favorite to win this fight. But Diego, he's a good fighter. Like I think those odds are almost a little too lopsided. Like Diego probably should be plus 210, 200, probably. Look, I get it. I feel like Diego has opportunity here. How it will come for him, I believe he probably needs to get a knockout. It'll probably be from a right hand, if anything, for him to get it. But plus 380 for Diego, I believe is worth looking into for sure. Just do your homework. Do your homework on Diego.
I mean, shoot, Rebecca minus 500. That would be you're trying to get the home run. You're trying to hit a home run.
I am. That's the home run. That is the home run.
I respect it. You're trying to top off your parlay with that. Hey, earn some bread. Me personally, I'm just gonna give you some subtle flexes. Strictly value wise. Hey, Chase Hooper. I think you get him at plus whatever. I'm saying take him. He is a grappling jiu-jitsu aficionado. If he gets to the ground, it's probably going to be a win for him. And even on the feet, he's getting better. The guy he's facing isn't some hard-nosed veteran who's just going to go in there and outclass him on the feet. It's relatively even there. I think that's a good one. And then another one, strictly value-wise, Alonzo Menefield. I think that fight is going to be very good. I think Olberg is going to take it, but I'm very biased because of City Kickboxing. Unbiased wise, if you get Alonzo Menefield for plus 225, I think you take that because that fight could be a flip of a coin. So that's another sleeper. Hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
All I'm saying. Before we get out of here, man, let's have our little debate of the day. And this is a good one. We've got some good
Talking
cards
crazy.
coming up. We got the return of the Notorious
Yeah, you're talking
coming
crazy
up
about this, man.
in see, don't do that. Like don't sit here on this podcast and say the Notorious is not Notorious. He has a Netflix documentary called The Notorious. So
I feel you, but come
establish
on,
that
like,
first. Anyways, Connor Megregor returns June 29th, International Fight Week, fighting Michael Chandler, who, Michael Chandler's been in the top 5 since he's entered the UFC a few years ago. Some were saying this should be a belt for something because that's how big of a fight this feels like. That's how big of a fight this is. The debate is, should Connor vault the other lightweights if he wins this, and should he get a title shot? I say he should.
there's no way. Like the integrity, man. You'd be throwing it out the window to do that.
But here's my thing. And I can give my, because I know my stance is probably not a popular one. It's probably not a well-respected one in the MMA community. And I understand I'm taking a leap of faith here, but let me explain. First off, there is no other Conor McGregor. There will never be another Conor McGregor in the UFC. If there is, it might be in like 2060 when the sport has changed to a circle or something. I don't know. There probably will never be another Conor McGregor. So the rules don't apply to him. I understand there needs to be integrity. You need to win this. You need to do that. I understand. Anybody else, I probably respect that. With Conor, bro, I don't need to see anymore. If you beat Michael Chandler, who, like I said,
Michael Chandler. Let's
but
not overdo it. He's Michael Chandler.
but let's not underdo it either. Michael Chandler is a top 5 staple in the UFC. I think he's at 6 right now. But either way, he is a staple in the UFC. He's fought the Gaethjes. He's had wars with Gaethje. He's had war with Poirier. Even the fight with Charles, he lost. He lost those 3, but even his fight with Charles, he was 5 seconds away from holding the belt. Michael's well respected. If you beat Michael Chandler, you're in the top 4. If Connor beats him, if things align, I think he can vault past. He has the star power to do it. It's going to be, if he fights for the belt next, it's going to be the most watched whatever for that year, if not ever.
It's because it's Connor, not because it's Michael Chandler.
Yeah, I'm saying because it's Connor. I'm saying if Connor beats Michael Chandler, his title fight,
The
title fight, most watched ever, just because it's Connor, comeback, blah, blah, blah. And lastly, if things stay the same, Islam Makhachev title.
Where are you going with this?
I'm saying if Islam is still holding the title, it's a written storyline. It's literally a written in storyline. Conor McGregor coming for Habib's protege. Don't act like that's not a real storyline, because it is. There's unfinished business there. Islam was in the octagon fighting after Habib jumped off the cage. Like, there's unfinished business there. They're gonna run away with that story. And like I said, those are just some tidbits I think could possibly give a path to having. Like I said before, last thing I promise, things do have to align. If Islam is scheduled to face somebody, it's not like they can just cancel that and be like, oh, we're going to do this instead. Or if somebody next is up. Like, for example, right now, Islam is facing Dustin Poirier, but we know Arman Sarukian's next. I'm not saying Islam necessarily jumps Arman, but his next fight will be for a title, is my point. And I'm done.
You would be put you in the UFC war room. You'd look. I get it. You'd help make the company money. You'd do that. You'd help make the company money for sure. But dog, brother, like Michael Chandler
What?
comes
Don't.
into the UFC January 23rd of 2021.
Okay.
He fights Dan Hooker. He gets a knockout in 231. Sweet, bro. Good job.
Dan Hooker at the time was one fight away from the belt. Let's not ignore that. But continue.
Okay. And since then, he has been nowhere near it. But you're right. At the time, he was
Hey,
one fight away.
uh,
He then comes in. He pretty much, off of beating Dan Hooker, he jumps everyone else to fight Charles Oliveira in a championship fight. Loses second round May 15th, 2021. From that point forward, he then goes off to face Justin Gaethje in a clash of titans,
at MSG.
guys who hit hard and throw without remorse. The fight actually ends up going 3 rounds. Sorry for the betters. It went all 3 rounds. It actually went unanimous decision for Justin Gaethje. He then comes back in May 7th, 2022. I'm sorry, bro, but to fight old, decrepit Tony Ferguson, we're talking about.
Don't disrespect Tony. Don't disrespect Tony.
Then in November 12th, 2022, he goes to fight a Dustin Poirier. Round 3, 2 minutes in the fight, gets submitted. Now, I get the hype that is of a Chandler from his previous promotion. The fights he has fought in, you can say they're exciting. Aren't we starting to aren't we starting to give credit to a guy for losing fights a little bit? Is this in the fact that he is facing Conor McGregor in the first place? Let alone just because Conor beat him, he now has to face get a title shot. Who he himself has lost to Dustin like twice in a row. I get it. One was due to injury, but he lost. What are we? What are we? I don't understand the principle behind outside of he's Conor McGregor that we are going to allow him to jump over these people to fight in a championship fight.
All right. Here's my principle. If I'm the UFC, I'm confident in having Michael Chandler fight anyone in the lightweight division. Anyone. I think he can compete with any single fighter in the lightweight division. Outside of maybe Islam. But I think he can fight, compete, potentially win against every fighter. Because we've seen it. We've seen him wobble, knock down Gaethje. We've seen him knock down Charles several times. We've seen him wobble Poirier. Now, granted, like you said, you do not get credit for losing. But when you look at skill for skill, he can compete with anyone. So my point isn't based off merit. It's not based off Michael Chandler's wins and losses. It's based off of skill. I know whoever beats Michael Chandler can compete at the top of the division. I think if Connor beats Michael Chandler, it proves he can fight at the top of the division. Now, does that mean he can fight for just the belt off rip? Maybe not. If he knocks out Michael Chandler, hey, I'm just saying it's not something many people have been able to do. We've seen skill for skill. There's not much more I need to see. If there's a bigger fight at, maybe Connor versus Charles, like
Hey,
something
that's
like
what
that.
people like. People like that.
Like,
The battle of the auras.
yeah,
As
I
the
mean
kids
that would
talk
be a
about.
fun fight to watch. But nah, man. Especially if Islam's up there, bro. If Islam's not up there, then it's like might not rush it as much. If Islam's up there, I'm fast tracking Connor to the belt.
Don't you think just a tad bit having Connor face Islam is just like sending him to the wolves?
I don't think
Like,
so.
don't we all kind of know how that fight's gonna go? For being honest,
I don't, because you want to know why? Because I think Islam's gonna strike with him. I don't think it's gonna be a super heavy. I think it's gonna be similar to his Volkanovski fights. I think it's gonna be similar to his Volkanovski fights, where he wants to prove he's not Habib. Habib went in there, you knew Habib was going for the takedown. Islam's a little different. I think they could have a very good matchup on the feet. It might get to the ground at some point, but for the time being, I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie to you because I know a question you'd ask me if that was to happen is who I'd want to win that
Who would
draw.
not
Let that be a draw.
the title?
No, because a draw means that it have to happen again. I wouldn't like that either. DQ.
Come on, bro, just pick someone. It's not that hard. I know who you want to pick. Just pick him. You don't have to hate him because I like him.
What's funny is I don't know who you're talking about because both of these fighters.
Bro, you want to pick. You want to pick Islam to win.
I actually want to pick Connor
Why?
because of the Magomedov fan
You
base.
want to talk about legacy? His legacy would skyrocket.
I can't have Islam winning that fight.
I'm
I
talking
can't.
about. I'm talking about Connor's legacy.
I would rather deal with Connor because Connor's legacy's already bloated. If
But
for him to lose it, he wouldn't lose much. No, wait a second. You're right. It would be outrageous. It would be so outrageous if he won that.
if he beat the one guy that nobody else can beat, and it's a basically a Nurmagomedov at that,
They'd
like
crown him GOAT.
well, it's not
The
getting ahead of
people.
ourselves, but his legacy would be skyrocket. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Wow. Okay, maybe I will want Islam to win that fight.
You like Islam? Like, I don't know why you're like you like watching him fight. Like, I don't
I don't
know.
mind him. I don't mind him. The fan base is what hurts it for me. But I want him to win just so someone else will tear him down.
There's so
That's
many
why.
worse. There's so many worse fan bases out there.
Who's?
Colby.
They're fun. They get it. They get it.
So they're fun, but Islam's fan base isn't.
Because they know what's like they put on the same facade Kobe puts on. They put on the same facade. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
What facade?
They like Kobe, he's a cool guy for real.
No,
But
I don't think his fans do that. I think his fans are actually like that. I don't think
they could be. I don't know. They really could be. Maybe I don't know.
man, to take it out on the fighter because of the fans, which I don't even think the fans.
I do that for
All
sure.
the fans are just people that know wrestling is supreme. That's all. That's all the fan is. Because
Who Islam's?
You're just a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy.
No,
So you
no, that is
pose,
not his
you
fan
pose
base, bro. What?
combo.
The Islam fan base is people who love Khabib. They wanted to hold on to something else because their GOAT retired with 5 significant fights in his career. They wanted to hold on to something else, and they found Islam, the son essentially of Khabib, and now they're like the second coming is here. That is his fan base.
So
That is who it is.
so it stems from Khabib's legacy
It's
being
funny because it does. It does.
you
It does.
wanting Khabib's legacy to be less. Okay, it makes sense.
It does. That's where it comes from. You're right.
Okay. Well, I mean, I respect it. Look, I mean, back to what we were talking about. Do I think a title fight awaits Conor McGregor? No. I don't think the UFC does that. I just know if I was there, I'm I'm trying to strap. I'm looking for a reason to strap a rocket to his back. Will it happen? Will he get a knockout against Michael Chandler? I don't know. I don't know how that fight even goes, to be quite honest with you. Like I'm gonna be nervous watching that fight
Oh man, for sure. For
because
sure.
I'm not the biggest Connor fan out there, but I'm a Connor fan nonetheless. So, and I don't know what to expect from that guy off of 3 years off. Like,
Excited to see what version of him we get back. I do want to see.
who knows? Who knows? Time will tell. That's a good episode, my guy. We just covered everything. We got some good chunk next week. Edson Barbosa's back in the mix
Yes.
against. I think he's facing Leroy Murphy, and then after that, UFC what 302.
Yes, it is.
Islam versus DP, El Diamante, Dustin Poirier. We got some good stuff on
Sprawl.
the horizon.
Work on sprawl. Nothing but sprawling. Just
He's
sprawl.
jumping Gilly. He's jumping Gilly.
Like sprawl and don't jump Gilly.
Hey,
Sprawl, don't jump Gilly.
He's jumping Gilly.
My dog's saying Gilly we trust.
Honestly. Like I said, great show, man. We'll be back next week. See y'all later.
Hey, subscribe. Go to the YouTube, hit follow the Twitter, retweet, favorite, do what y'all do. Subscribe.
He did his
Shout out to
little
y'all.
plug. I won't bother